Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
It's a great day. I'm Mark Imperial. For the past 7 years, I've scoured the globe looking for noteworthy experts, businesses, people, places, and things. On this special edition of the show, we'll meet some of the world's leading professionals in health, nutrition, and fitness, people from all across the country, around the world, and in your town. Welcome to the program. On this segment, my next guest is John Hofman from 911 Tactical Performance. I'd like to bring him on and let him know a little bit more about the business. John, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me, Mark. This is a great honor for myself.
John, tell the listeners, what is 911 Tactical Performance, and who are the type of people that you help?
Well, that's a great question. Our program actually focuses on the tactical population, meaning the law enforcement, first responder side, as well as the military side. What we're trying to do is actually create a better program to help prolong their life, or actually try to reverse what a 30-year career does to them. Because our motto is no one calls 911 on a good day. So it's pretty simple. We always say fit for duty, fit for life. And that encompasses everything from health and wellness, medical screenings, to absolutely, reconditioning or rehabilitation programming, and as nutrition and other hormonal imbalances.
So that sounds to me like you're helping people, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're helping people that like really are in dire need of getting back into shape or something, within their career or after a career. Am I on the right track? Or could you clarify that for me?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we try to look at is, how does the job affect them? I mean, this job is not an easy job or an easily chosen path in terms of first responders, the law enforcement and fire side. And what we do is help establish wellness programs to help prolong their life. The average life expectancy for both law and fire is about 5 years after retirement. And the number one killer of firefighters is actually heart disease. So we're always trying to look at reconditioning them, help them, and basically help those who help others.
So you've got me really intrigued. This is terrific. By the way, I congratulate you. I commend you for what you're doing. You're very specific in the people that you help, and that's terrific. So my next question is, how do people find you? How do you find your clients? How do they know that you're the person that could help them?
Well, that's an interesting question in itself because it's such a focused group, and like you said, it's very specific to a specific population. It's more or less a word of mouth. I was the Sacramento Fire Department Health and Wellness Developer or Coordinator for 10 years, and we basically did, a lot of things that were kind of unheard of 10 years ago. And I guess throughout the years, they saw a lot of success where we took injuries from $1.2 million down to $700,000. And we've had huge successes in terms of reconditioning and low back injuries from $80,000 to $7,000 per claim. And of course, the fire service and law enforcement, they're like cousins. So, people talk and they want to see, hey, well, we would like to do this within our own department, and kind of spreads word of mouth.
That's great. Do you see like a common challenge that your prospects face that, when they finally say, you know what, I need to take care of my health, I need to reach out to you? What's a common challenge that you keep hearing from people that reach out to you for the first time?
The biggest challenge, usually, the first place I start in terms of the challenges that they face, because we're talking about the A-type personalities, and they're not very forthcoming in terms of maybe admitting some type of issues. They don't want to show that weakness. Mm-hmm. So we always start with a simple checkbox of what defines, a healthy firefighter or law enforcement. And the number one biggest issue with all of them is actually, do you have pain? If they have a low back injury, which is very common in both careers, that's going to affect their dietary habits. That's going to affect their mental capacity. That'll affect their even training, because they're not going to be able to train as well. And training actually saves their lives on the job to reduce the chances of the unknown. So we really start there first, and we look at, how has the job affected you? Where do we need to go from here? How long have you been doing this job? And we'll start with those simple questions and build it backwards.
So it sounds a little bit like, the people that have lived their whole lives, professional lives, helping others sometimes have a tough time asking for help themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, you first have to understand that, these individuals put their lives on the line every single day. And it's humbling to actually ask for help from other people. So you have to gain their trust and respect. And again, you have to almost come at it with a sense of kid gloves, treat them, fairly, and don't try to, intimidate them, but rather encourage them.
So these are highly trained individuals. So they know a thing or two about fitness. So what do you find is like their biggest maybe misconception that, when they first approach you? Is there a common misconception or myth that they have that you have to bust them through?
I think in overall, not only in the first responder or tactical community, it's pretty crazy nowadays with all the information that is out there. I don't necessarily think people are scared in terms of asking for help. They just don't know what to ask. There's too much information, and it becomes confusing, and so they don't know where to start. Our goal is to actually provide a priority. If we try to put the circle in the circle and the square in the square, and let them know that there are ways to actually help themselves. Because if you think about it, everybody knows exercise and eating well is good for us, but we don't do it. So what are the obstacles preventing them from doing that?
Yeah, let's bust through a couple of those, misconceptions right now. What do you say the biggest one is, and what would you say about it?
I would probably start with too much information. Within this industry, if it worked for me, it has to work for you, right? If I'm a runner, it has to work for you because I ran and I lost weight. But that isn't always necessarily true in the first responder market because they don't have a choice in terms of when a call comes in. When that call comes in, they have to respond. And we know based off the science and research that 85% of calls come at night, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So could the sleep affect them and the elevated cortisol? And could that actually take its toll and hinder them from losing weight, from feeling better, from, creating a lot of hormonal imbalances, lowering their testosterone or creating more cortisol that basically would, could possibly give them some slight mental disorders in terms of sadness and gray, gloomy days.
I've heard about cortisol. Tell me a little bit about that. What does trigger cortisol and what does it do to you?
Well, cortisol is your fight or flight mechanism. So if a big bear came at you, you're either going to run or you're going to not run. And more or less, it's a good thing in terms of that type of environment. But if it's elevated all the time, it becomes a problem. And it's going to counteract a lot of the other issues that you may be facing. And let's face it, today's society, we don't get enough sleep. And that's probably one of the biggest issues for our unhealthiness. And so cortisol can be a demon, but it also can be a protector. I don't like to look at it as a good or bad. It's how do we control it?
So John, you know a lot about this. You're very passionate about the subject. And for first responders, what inspired you to become a fitness professional? How'd you get started?
Just, I guess, like everybody else, I played high school sports. I worked out. Exercise has always been a part of my life. I then proceeded on after college to train for the U.S. Olympic team in 04 and 08 with sprint kayaking. And being a resident athlete at the Olympic Training Center of Lake Placid, it kind of drew me into this idea of really what coaching is and the psychology of it. And that's where I began to get my master's degree and focus more on the sports and exercise psychology of things. After that, I actually saw a job here in Sacramento for a health and wellness coordinator for a fire department. And to myself, that sounded pretty interesting because nobody was doing it at the time. So I applied, and out of 800 people, lo and behold, I was the lucky one who got it.
Wow, terrific. So, John, is there anything that we may not have covered during our short time together that you might want to make people aware of and help that could help them become super successful in their goals to getting fit again?
Yeah, I believe that there are reasons why things are not happening. And I think we need to find out, what is best needed for that individual? What is stopping them from obtaining their goals? And, we need to look at it from a behavioral approach. Sometimes it is a hormonal imbalance if you look at our nutrition. And what I try to do with our program is simplify it. We actually incorporate, body fat calibers to monitor where your hormonal imbalances may lie. For example, we know that if you have excess belly fat, it could be from excess cortisol. So we could start there and change your diet or nutritional habits, as well as provide maybe some supplementation. And we try to simplify it so you don't feel overwhelmed. Maybe it isn't necessarily just start with exercise, because that may feel like it's work. So we start with building blocks. We get you going in the right direction. And I believe that there always is an answer. We just have to find out what's best for you.
John, this has been terrific. How can our listeners, if they want to learn more or connect with you, I know you're in Sacramento, California, so how can people find you?
Yes, we have a website. It's 911tacticalperformance.com. Also, you can look at my book. It's Beyond the Turnouts, a comprehensive guide to firefighter health and wellness. Please, if anybody ever has any questions or a loved one who's is in the fire or law enforcement or military side, we work with all of them because it is a family.
Hey, this is great, John. I really appreciate you taking the time to being on the program today, and I wish you continued success for you and your clients.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mark.
And we're in the middle of another special edition of our health, fitness, and nutrition show. So on this program, my next guest is Mike Caulo from Long Island, New York. He's from lifeofafighter.com. Mike, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great to have you. Tell us a little bit more about lifeofafighter.com and your work and the type of clients that you help.
Yeah, so Life of a Fighter is a lifestyle and fitness brand. I try and throw the lifestyle aspect in there because what we try and focus on is three basic ideas or mission statements of education, inspiration, and improvement. So we want to educate our audience with amazing content, interesting videos, and any way that we can get kind of information across to our clients. And even those that just go to our website, we have a bunch of great content and information up there. And we want to obviously inspire them with either our coaches, with the professionals that we have on our team, or again, going back to the content, some of the videos that we create to inspire people. We send inspirational quotes from, stuff like that. And then the third is in improving their lives. Because if we're getting this information across and we're inspiring you properly, I believe we can't fail but to improve your life in some way, shape, or form with regards to health and fitness.
Tell me more about these clients and prospects of yours. Who are they? How are they finding you? And what are they attracted to initially?
Yeah, I'd say we have a very interesting spectrum. Originally, when we started, I'm a fighter myself. So I was based out of Long Island, New York, and I'm 29 now. At the time, I was 18. I got certified, and I've just been kind of evolving, got into martial arts. And that's where the fighting, a Life of a Fighter name came from, is me as a fighter. I was just actually, believe it or not, blogging and working as a media company, almost like an independent contractor, getting little ads and stuff like that. And eventually I moved to Las Vegas, and I actually watched how UFC fighters, which is a big mixed martial arts promotion, the biggest promotion in that category, I saw how these fighters were living, and it kind of changed my view on the sport and on the career path I was going on. Like, wow, this is a very tough lifestyle that you have to live. And then it kind of progressed where we got sponsored by Prilosec and then some bigger companies. And then I realized I'm doing training on the side with my own clients. Why can't I combine and search after all these amazing health professionals that martial artists work with and the lifestyle approach that we take from a martial arts perspective? It's not just about the physical. It's also about the cognitive, the psychological benefits, the healthy lifestyle factors for longevity. So we see all these clients from our youngest client is a 5-year-old that just their parents, they kind of see a path they want to put them on, all the way up to my oldest client that we work with is 82. So we have a wide spectrum of both men and women. It's about a 60-40 split. So it's been interesting to see it kind of adjust throughout the years.
And in that spectrum, do you find, are you working with more absolute beginners, advanced fighters, or is that a mix also?
Yeah, that's the really interesting. I would say about 70% of our clients are going to be someone that's not athletically geared, meaning, or not even, martial arts geared. It's just someone, whether it's a student or a lot of corporate professionals, believe it or not, especially in New York, on Long Island, that are transferring, going into the city and have to worry about transportation and dealing with stress and the grind and daily hustle of corporate America. This is a great way to relieve stress for them, but also a lot of the exercises I try and incorporate match their goals physically, but also if they want to have better performance, there's a lot of cognitive benefits too, that they see the benefits over at work or, again, at school.
And I imagine that it comes from the popularity of MMA now and since 2006, the rise of it, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's just been a wave of, I try and, again, with the idea of like business, just like, we need to evolve. And sometimes if you can see something coming ahead of time, we can kind of set up shop a little bit before and let the wave kind of catch us while we're there. And I just had a feeling that this fighter lifestyle was something that was going to change, meaning how fighters trained and lived and worked would evolve. But the basics there of having a mental strength, having the physical strength, having discipline, all those things could translate really well to the regular population. And sometimes what happens is we get caught up, again, in the work grind, or we get caught up in everyday life and we miss little bits and pieces of a total life. And I thought the martial arts like template can really replicate over to that. And like you said, with the UFC getting huge and all the marketing getting put into it, in New York, look, we finally legalized MMA, so that's huge for us over here.
Yeah, you've got a huge weekend coming up.
Yeah, with Madison Square Garden, just the revenue coming in. I don't even know what the projections are, but I think it's going to be the biggest gate that they're going to collect for the UFC. And then I can only imagine what the restaurants will do, the hotels, and just, we've already seen an increase in T-shirts that we sell and just people coming to town that when I was living in Vegas, or we have coaches that work with people throughout the United States, they're coming to New York and they're asking to train since they know they're going to be in New York. We kind of help set them up with different facilities too.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, I know it's a subject for a whole different show, but man, I wonder what heck took them so long to get that legalized, knowing all the revenue opportunities for the city and the enhancement. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a whole nother time. And again, I don't know how much of it is true and how much of it's hearsay, but in the MMA community, they talk a little bit about a culinary union issue with the owner of the overseeing company with the UFC, but I don't really know too much about that. It's all allegedly, so who knows?
Yeah, and speaking of trends, so the MMA is really sort of, as Ronald Reagan said, rising tides raise all ships. So it's really, it's really popularized every fight sport again, including karate, including boxing. But speaking of trends, you must be familiar with a friend of mine, Lloyd Irvin.
Oh, of course. Yes.
So what's interesting is he was telling me his story about, how he got started in business. So we run around in the business circle side of it. And he was telling me how he actually, how he came up in business. Did you know that he started with the wave and the trend of Taebo?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I knew that he's been doing an amazing job with it now.
Yeah. He basically,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He got into the business side of it because of Taebo. He actually, his first schools, he started teaching Taebo classes, literally, and he was getting wave after wave after wave of full classes, and he just rode that wave, and that's actually how he got into the gym business, was teaching Taebo. It's crazy. You could probably find something about that if you really dig, but yeah, that's what he was telling me, how he got started, and then from there it evolved into the MMA thing, So, but speaking of that,
it's amazing to see that.
Yeah. So just like you said, you're right. You might be riding a trend or a wave here, but I don't see it, ever stopping. MMA's huge, but I do want to touch on a question for you. What do you? What's your opinion of what has MMA done? Because, for example, I came up. I've got a black belt in Goju Shirai, traditional karate. What do you see as the effect of MMA? To the karate community, or has it changed the traditional martial arts business at all?
From what I've seen, I started in a Taekwondo background myself when I was much younger. So I know the more traditional martial art roots. And the one thing I can speak of, because I haven't been back in a traditional, let's say, dojo in almost 8 years, but from what I have seen is the impacting of even marketing. So if you're, let's say, a traditional karate school or another more traditional martial art, I've seen the marketing that they'll use certain keywords for, including, let's say, Brazilian. They may not call it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but they may add we have a submission grappling class, or we have mixed martial arts, or they're trying to cater to that. Now, like you said, the rising tides bringing up the ship. They're trying to be that ship that, hey, all we got to do is just kind of put our name on this. And I think there's pros and cons to it, that if you have a great instructor, hey, it's going to give them more of a reach. But sometimes you'll have what's called quote unquote McDojos, or these kind of companies. They're just trying to cash in on that wave and not really doing what's best, either A, from a coaching perspective, and B, from the student perspective. But I think there's more pros to come from it than cons, because there's so much benefit to, let's say, a young student or a young athlete to get involved in a traditional martial art. I know when I have kids, I definitely want to at least expose them to it. Now, you can't, let's say, what degree we could force, that's different, but I think there's benefit to it for sure.
Yeah, this evolution is still so new because I was watching it from 7-8 years ago, and as it's changed, and I saw a lot of pros and cons that people needed to figure out how they were going to manage. Because I mean, you mentioned you had a 5-year-old in your classes. How did their parents feel about putting them in classes? And have you found other parents having mixed emotions, like that's too violent versus this is going to be good for his self-esteem?
Yeah, I've had a pretty overwhelmingly amount of positive feedback. I think the only time they get worried and the concern that I 100% like to acknowledge every class, and I agree with the parents, is that what happens outside of the facility, the gym, the dojo, are they going to understand the idea that we don't use this, let's say, on your friends? What we learn in class is to be used under my supervision, another coach's supervision, with your parents around, and understanding the difference between it. And that's, again, where discipline can come in, awareness. But it's been a tremendous amount of positive feedback from the parents. The only thing that I've heard parents get worried about is when it does come to sparring, if they're going to be sparring. But at that young of an age, we're just going over techniques. We're going over the workout, body awareness, and all the fun things that come with that.
Yeah, speak to that a little bit more. Like, let's say we're talking to somebody, if you were speaking to a parent or even somebody that wants to get in themselves, that's a professional, that's a corporate professional. And if they're brand new to it, they have some questions, they don't know much. What pearls of wisdom would you give them, or what would you tell them about what to expect coming in and working out with you?
Yeah, especially if there's someone new to martial arts in general. If they don't, the biggest thing I'll ask is whether someone calls us on the phone, they go to our website, they email us, or they just come into one of our facilities, is I'll ask them, have you had any martial arts experience at all? That's the first question. The second question I'll go to is, have you had any athletic experience? Because if someone, let's say, hasn't done a traditional martial arts or wrestled or something along those lines, if let's say they're a baseball player or a lacrosse player, someone that involves, or a golf enthusiast, or someone that's done something with their hips, tennis, then I know I can kind of piggyback on that hip movement. So I know that, okay, we can maybe go a little bit faster with certain things. And from their side, what to expect is to just know that it's going to be a different type of workout. The cardiovascular utilization in your body is going to be a much greater demand, most likely, than what you're used to. So just go in anticipating that you're not going to feel horrible first. That's a big fear. If you have a good coach, they're not going to kill you and make you throw up on the first day. A lot of times I've seen that in our industry where people think, oh, I had a killer workout, I threw up. And to be honest with you, a lot of times throwing up is our body's indication that something's wrong, that we don't want to necessarily have that reaction. Mm-hmm. So that's not where we want to go with them. And the other side of it is to know you're not going to feel great afterwards, in the sense of, like, if you haven't done that type of cardio, you're going to feel tired. You're going to have to sweat a little bit. But at the end of the day, you should actually feel good after a workout. And sometimes I recommend asking questions. The biggest thing I could say is ask questions. Even if you don't know, let's say, a lot about martial arts, ask what their background is. What kind of education do they have? What's their experience? How long have they been doing this? How long have they been working with, if it's kids, how long have they been working with kids? If it's for you, how long have you been working with, a normal population, or any variation of that? So you can kind of get an idea of, do they have experience in this? Is it someone I maybe should look for someone else? And when in doubt, the online community, whether it's, mixedmartialarts.com or another fitness community, or you can even ask us, like, we're very supportive of trying to help people find the right place.
Hey, Mike, this has been terrific. I'm mindful of the clock. I'd love to have you back, though. But for our listeners, if they'd like to learn more and connect with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, the best way is, like you said in the beginning of the show, go to our website, lifeofafighter.com. We have our social media accounts. You can find us at facebook.com/lifeofafighter. On Twitter, it's @lifeofafighter. And on Instagram, we're @thelifeofafighter. And I just want to say thanks, Mark. I appreciate you taking the time to have me on, and I hope you and the audience kind of gain something from this. And I'd love to come back on anytime you guys want to have me.
Mike, it's been great. I wish you continued success for you and your clients.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it.
And we're in the middle of our special edition on health, fitness, and nutrition on the show. My next guest is Tim Liu from timliufitness.com from California. Tim, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Fantastic having you. I didn't want to steal your thunder because I really love your site and exactly what you're working with, so I thought I'd let you sort of let our listeners know. Tell me a little bit about Tim Liu Fitness and specifically the types of clients that you work with.
So Tim Liu Fitness, it is an online fitness and nutrition coaching website that I run. I do online fitness and nutrition coaching. I run a couple different programs. I do a 12-week busy executive program. It's my flagship program. If you sign up with me, we do daily simple tips for you to adopt as a busy working professional. It helps you with your day-to-day life because I know that it's hard to stay in shape, stay active, stay healthy in today's world. And part of the other program that I do is I have a customized workout program for you and a nutrition program based on your special needs based off of your lifestyle, because I know that generic plans don't work for anybody. So it's all catered towards you, catered towards your hectic lifestyle.
So are you predominantly training people online at distance, or do you also have a local practice?
So I do both. I originally got into working with busy executives based off of where I am training in person. I have a lot of higher level executives, a lot of busy working professionals in Santa Monica, people from, HBO, Hulu, Universal Music. So these are, pretty high up guys and girls who need guidance from me. And then I was like, you know what? I like to help more people. I don't want to be limited to the one-on-one model because there's only a finite number of people I can help. So I've launched my website 2 months ago, and things are slowly picking up. I'm reaching more people, and it's great.
Oh, that's terrific. So tell me a little bit more about those types of clients. So busy executives, what do you find is their biggest challenge when it comes to their fitness?
I think finding the time is the biggest one. For example, I have a guy who's 40 years old. He's got 3 kids. He's, the main breadwinner. He's a high-level executive at Universal Music, and he can only fit 2 to 3 workouts per week. So I help him look at his calendar. We look at what he can fit. So if he's only got 30 minutes, I designed a 30-minute training program for him for those 3 days. And I look at what he has available, what he can eat when he's stuck in the office, in a conference call, when he's traveling, what he can pack with him. So it's a lifestyle transformation, basically.
You see a lot of information out there, different trends in fitness, and lately it's been everybody has 25 minutes or something like that. Is 30 minutes really enough time for a workout?
Absolutely. People think, I got to work out for at least an hour to get results. That's not true. If you work intensely and if you work smartly, then you should be able to get everything you need to get done and to get the results that you want.
So the age-old question, cardio versus strength training. If somebody wants to lose weight and really get toned, what's a better workout? Which one?
Absolutely, it would be strength training. If you want that toned look, you can't have it without some sort of lean tissue, lean muscle. If you just do cardio and you lose weight and you don't do any sort of strength training to supplement your workout program, you're just going to look like a thinner version of yourself without any muscle tone.
I lost you a little bit you got a little muffled there at the end, Tim, on your phone. So you were mentioning yeah, no problem. That's much better. So you're mentioning that that strength training, no matter what, if you want the tone, because I'd imagine if you just did cardio, you'd lose a bunch of weight, but then you'd have what, my friends used to make fun of me. Mark, you don't want to have a runner's body. You got to get on some weights over there.
That's right. You want to look like you're in shape, and you just don't want to look like you're thin without any sort of muscle tone. Plus, if you just do cardio without any sort of strength training, you're going to be losing your lean muscle in the process, and that can slow your metabolism down and end up making you gain body fat in the process.
Ooh, that is counterintuitive. I didn't think of that. So what about the other extreme? What about some folks that all they do is strength training and say that's the best way to lose weight? What would you say to that without any cardio?
It depends on your lifestyle. Some people can get in great shape without doing any sort of traditional cardio. The beauty about strength training is that you can work out in such a way to where you can get a cardio effect. So circuit training, different types of, supersets and mixing body parts back and forth, that can get your heart rate up and promote heart health and get you some sort of cardio benefit. So it's not a black and white way of looking at it.
I've also saw somebody put a post up on my Facebook that said, like, studies show that strength training, that afterburn effect is like longer when you strength train versus cardio. Is that any truth to that?
Yeah, there's a lot of research. It's called EPOC, EPOC, excess post-oxygen consumption. So after a hard workout, your body needs more oxygen to recover from whatever you did in that session. So if you do a lot of strength training, your body is going to need a lot more of that than, say, traditional cardio. And for 24 to 48 hours, that is elevated, so you'll be burning more calories after the workout. I know that some people say, oh, you burn more calories during cardio, during the session doing cardio, but it doesn't burn much afterwards. Strength training takes care of that. So you'll be improving your metabolism, getting more fat burn after the session.
Oh, right on. That makes a lot of sense. So Tim, how did you personally get inspired to get into the fitness industry?
So I originally got into health and fitness when I went to college. I studied nutrition because when I was 9, my mom had passed away from stomach cancer. As a kid, I thought, there might be a link to, your eating habits and your future health, because that was a big thing. So I did everything I could in college to study the links between nutrition, health, disease. And in my junior year, there was a fitness internship open where you can be a personal trainer by the end of the internship. So I got the internship, I got certified, and then I started training. And for the past 9 years, I've been learning, honing my craft, learning as much as I can about health and fitness, wanting to help people and make changes in their lives so they don't have to be older, and when they're older, they're sick and can't take care of themselves.
I've got one more question for you, Tim. We talked a little bit about a lot of information out there earlier. What would you say is like one of the biggest myths or misconceptions that you find people have about when it comes to fitness and success?
I think the biggest misconception is that you need to be working out 5-6 days a week. You have to be eating nothing but chicken, broccoli, brown rice every meal. You can easily achieve your goals while still enjoying life. I think that in the age of social media, you see a lot of super ripped Instagram, Facebook fitness models saying, "Oh, you have to grind hard every day. You have to, sacrifice," but you really don't. There are ways to maintain and improve your health and fitness while still enjoying your life.
So, Tim, how can our listeners learn more about you and connect with you? How can they find you?
So they can find me via my website, www.timliufitness.com. It's TIMLIUfitness.com. I have a online coaching tab. I have a product I'm selling as well, a Busy Executive Fitness ebook. So if you want to get a hold of me, you can fill out the coaching form, or you can shoot me an email at tim@timliufitness.com.
Fantastic. Tim, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the program with me today. I wish you super continuous success for yourself and your clients.
Thanks, Mark. It's been a pleasure. I feel honored for you to having me on the show, and I look forward to making my business grow and helping as many people as I can.
That wraps up another episode of our Health, Nutrition, and Fitness Special Edition. If you know a remarkable expert, business, person, place, or thing that we should feature on the show, drop me a line on my email, radioguest@markimperial.com. That's radioguest@markimperial.com. Until next time, I'm Mark Imperial. Take care and make it a remarkable week.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.